Hi, my name is Matthew Bellisario. Welcome back to the BellisarioSonic YouTube channel. From the heart of the Deep South here, I have an interesting video today, and it's going to require your participation. So I share this with people. I think this is going to be a fun test for those audiophiles or those people that love to compare records out there. And it involves a variable that most of us don't think about. So for example, I have Fluence RT85 with the Ortophon Blue that I think sounds fantastic. I'm going through a Shipmani preamp into my Yamaha HS8s, and I love the way it sounds. It's crisp, still has a little bit of warmth to it, has a nice spectrum. I can hear everything really nice. But I've had other people that say that it sounds very harsh. Now, there could be several variables. It could be because the speaker combination with the turntable or the preamp or what have you, the amplifier, that those don't mate well together, or it could be equipment issues, could be your room, could be the kind of music you're listening to, right? But I think one thing that most people haven't thought about, because I really didn't think about it until today when I was sitting around the office and I was thinking about hearing loss, okay? And it's something that most of us don't think about, most of us don't realize is going on. And for those of us who are older in the vinyl community, I wouldn't consider myself old yet, but I'm getting there. I'm 53, okay? There's something to think about regarding losing your high-end hearing. I think it's very important, something that we should think about, because when we're all out here comparing records, especially as people that are in, the people that are in their 60s and their 70s, and they're comparing new pressings with older pressings, and they're comparing them and saying one is better than the other or what have you. And that's what makes it fun, is everybody's opinion. But we have to remember that all of our opinions are just that, opinions. And so it's also a preference. Maybe some of us like to hear more bass in a recording or more treble, or it depends on what kind of genre we're listening to. All these things matter. But here's a few facts for you. And there's going to be a quiz for you guys to take, a link below that will take you to a hearing test that will test you on 4 frequencies. And I want you guys, if you can do this, is to take the test, tell me how old you are and what 4 frequencies, how far you could hear up to, okay? Here's the reason why. Here's a couple of stats for you. So again, click on that link below. You'll be able to go to this hearing test and then listen to these 4 frequencies. There's 15% of adults that are over the age of 18 that have hearing issues, okay? 1 in 3 people in the US between 65 and 74 has some sort of major hearing loss. That's 30% of people between 65 and 74. And nearly half of the people who are 75 and older, half have difficulty hearing. That's a lot of people. Now, this doesn't really go into the high frequency. So I went and started looking into the high frequency issue, because this is what affects a lot of people, even though you don't have major hearing loss, like just someone talking to you. You may have hearing loss in the upper register, which is going to affect how you actually hear records. So for the high frequencies, a notable increase is seen starting at the age of 40 to 49, a drastic drop off in your highs. And with health issues or people on certain medications, that can be drastically made worse. And of course, exposure to loud music over time, especially over 85 dB over prolonged periods, can cause permanent hearing damage, given that a normal conversation's at about 65 dB, okay? So let's get into this hearing test. And I tested this today on 6 people. And it follows pretty close. 12 kilohertz is hard for anybody over the age of 50 to hear. 15,000 kilohertz going up is harder for anybody over 40 to hear. And 17.4 is a frequency that usually people typically under 20 can hear. Okay, so this means that cymbal crashes and other high frequencies, secondary, when you hit a cymbal, you may have an initial frequency of 400 to 500 hertz or lower if you're doing a crash or something, but it can sheen all the way up to 10 or 12K. If you're hitting a crash cymbal, you might hit that, and it might be a 5K tone when you first hit it. Those can ring out over 20, okay? Now granted, most systems are only gonna pretty much capture up to about a 20K tone. But however, if you have crash cymbals that are recorded in a jazz recording, those can indeed be well over 12 or 15K. So my point is, once people start getting over 50, they're going to have a hard time hearing over 12 and definitely over 15K. And this really held true today when I did a test on 6 people, myself, 5 other people. So I'm going to give you, tell you how this worked out. And this is just science. It's not picking on any of the old people. It's just a fact. The people that are under 40 years old are going to hear the record way better than you're going to hear it. It's something to think about. So when I tested myself, I'm 53. I could hear the 8K tone, which everybody's supposed to be able to hear that. That's normal hearing. I could hear the 12K tone, which people over 50 start to lose. I could still hear that fine. And when I hit the 15K, I could hear just like a little disturbance in the air, but I could not hear the tone. So I'm already losing that part of it. 2 guys over 60. One was 65. He could not hear the 8K tone. So he lost all of his top end hearing. Another guy, I think he is 63. He could not hear the 8K. At the 8K tone, he could hear a disturbance, but could not hear any of the actual tone. Kind of like he was hearing at 8K what I was hearing at the 15. I had another guy in his 50s. He could only hear 8 and 12. I had 2 guys in their 30s. One of them could hear all 4 in his 30s, and the other guy in his 30s could hear a disturbance at the 17K, and he could hear the other 3 tones fine. So my point being here, if you're in your 60s and your 70s, kind of think about that when you're doing these record reviews and you're trying to compare a new jazz recording, a new remaster to an old one. Yeah, you're going to be able to hear differences, obviously, in those lower registers. But just remember, you're not hearing it as good as somebody in their 30s and someone in their 20s who hears that same record. Sorry. Fact. For most people. Again, take this hearing test and you'll know where you are. There wasn't one person in their 60s that could hear that 12K, okay? So that doesn't mean that nobody in that age range can hear it, because I'm sure the people are. There might be people in their 70s that could hear all of them, but I guarantee it's not going to be very many, okay? So anyways, this was just a fun video. It was a variable to think about that I was thinking about when I was talking about how much I like the Ortophon Blue and how other people were saying it sounds kind of harsh to me. Well, again, it could be other factors, but it could also be my hearing. It could be that I just don't hear those 15 or 13K, those cymbal crashes, those tones that are coming out after the fact, right? Those things that go and kind of give you that room ambience, those overtones that I might not be hearing as much as you're hearing if you're in your 30s, right? And you might hear those and they might sound shrill to you. Maybe that Ortophon Blue gives, that kind of response that's kind of harsh to some people. I don't know. Just throwing that out there. Something to think about, that when we're doing these reviews, remember, these are our opinions. We're telling you, I'm telling you what I'm using, what kind of equipment I'm using, why I like the record. A lot, I'm trying to focus on the music itself when I do these reviews, whether it's a good quality pressing, I'm getting surface noise, that kind of thing. And when I do comparisons, I just try to tell you what the difference is. Hey, this one to me sounds better because it has more bass, or it has, I can hear the guitars better. There's more mid-range, there's more highs, sounds better across, the soundstage sounds different, things like that. So I think, when we're doing these record reviews, we try to talk about the differences between pressings or talk about why we like certain things. But I think, and I just see this in a lot of the older guys on the channels, and those are primarily the people that are watching my channel. So I'm not trying to put anybody down. It's just another factor to think about, that when someone comes onto your channel who's in their 30s or even their 20s, and they listen to something, they're probably going to be hearing it a bit different than you are. They're going to be hearing a lot more of the highs and things like that when they listen to some of these recordings. And once we get up into our 60s or 70s, we are losing some of the top end of our hearing. And so that's going to affect how we assess some records. So take that quiz below, please. I'm really interested in this to see how many people, what age you are, and whether you're getting the 8, 12, 15, and 17 tones on this. And I think it would be great for all of us to know, where's our hearing at? Are we hearing all the way up to 17K like some people in their 30s can hear? Are we hearing the 15Ks, which definitely some of the cymbals and things on the recordings get into that range? Are we hearing those? Are we hearing the 12K? If we're not hearing the 12K, you're really going to be missing out on a lot of those highs, that cymbal crashes and things into that range. And if you can't hear the 8K, you've got probably some serious hearing loss. So something to think about. And I'm going to be, before I go, I'm going to be doing a review of this 4 for Train that I just got. That's going to be my next record review. I'll be taking it out of the wrapper, talking about the history of it, and doing a record review on it. So I appreciate you guys watching. I appreciate y'all participating, and your feedback and your comments are most welcome. Thank you, and we'll talk to you later on, and happy listening for all of you, no matter what age you are. Take care.